What's up, y'all? Welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna be walking y'all through my 1 month of aim training in Kovacs. The reason I've been doing this is because I really do want to get better at shooting, specifically first person shooters, and aim training is gonna be like a huge help to that. My mentality of it is like, if I wanted to get good at basketball, I wouldn't only play pickup games. You would also be practicing your 3-pointers by itself. So that's how I'm like going into my aim training. My objective is to just have really satisfying aim, like the kind you'd see where you just lock into a target and it almost feels like hacking. And yeah, let's just get straight into this. We're not gonna go through week 1 since that is pretty much covered in my last video of switching to keyboard and mouse. But one thing I can add on, which I didn't say at the time, is that the first 2 days of aim training I felt like a headache. It felt like the kind of headache you'd get when you're studying for something and you don't feel like studying for it. It was like a weird feeling that I had not gotten in so long. But after those 2 days it just went away. I would like do 3 scenarios, let's say, and then hop on my phone for like 3 minutes, then do another 4 scenarios, and then like I didn't feel the headache again, so then I hop off my computer, lay down in my bed, and I'd just be repeating that cycle. It was recommended, if you can't play all the scenarios, you just lower the amount of reps that are played and make it so you shorten the time. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do that. I would just play the amount that it was already set up, and if I only ended up playing for 30 minutes, I only played for 30 minutes and then I'd stop. If I only played for an hour, I'd play for an hour and I'd stop. I think only once or twice I finished the whole scenario of an hour and a half. I wish I could have done it more consistently, but at the same time, like, I'm working, I'd get home from work and I'd still want to work out and do this, which is another workout in itself, so I just wouldn't have time all the time for it. The same way, just doing 10 minutes of exercising, like just going on the run, it will all add up in the long term, which is my mentality of this. So enough yapping, let's go into the second week.
What are you aiming at? What are you aiming at?
Going into the second week, I was still experimenting with finding my sensitivity, especially since my DPI was still at 1500, the default, and I still hadn't figured out how to change it. So second week I was still changing my sensitivity around, but I had found a comfortable one being about 0.42 to 0.48 range on Marvel Rivals, and on Valorant staying around the 0.25. Only ever switching it by 1 or 10 and nothing more when I'd be switching the sensitivity around. Aim wise in game, I felt like it was getting better. Still nothing too crazy though, and if I hit like a good clip, it would be more in the fact of I would be shocked that I hit it, rather than like, oh yeah, I went for that. I was getting better scores and that felt really good, but that also ended up being a problem of me being so obsessed of trying to up the score constantly, and I didn't really fix this until week 3. Going into week 3, I started to really feel the changes in my aim in game. More specifically with Marvel Rivals, since all my time started going into this game by this time. So the biggest thing I felt was my healing being a lot better. Since I mostly play support in Marvel Rivals, I had been consistently getting, let's say my first week of keyboard and mouse, I was getting on average 10,000 healing and struggling to like get to 20,000. I really started like getting more consistent 15k, 20k healing, even above 20k, and that felt really good. My mentality in the aim training too had started to shift from, so let's say my top score in a Pokeball scenario was 600 and something. If I was on average getting around 600 and something but not beating it, I would have been happy. So just even getting consistent 2-year high scores should definitely be like just as of an accomplishment as getting a high score, which will feel good, of course, but what's most important is just getting consistently on average to your high score. And those were the changes I felt most in week 3. Week 4 was not a good week, because by this point I had to reset my PC entirely. It ended up making me miss 1 day of game training, combined with the fact that it ended up being one of my busiest weeks. Coming home so late and tired, I did not have good scores at all in week 4. Worst part being that the first 2 days of game training in week 4, since I mentioned earlier that I missed 1 day, that 1 day of missing, once I got back into aim training, I started feeling that headache sensation again on the first day. I was really disappointed by that, because I was like, what? My guess is that it was a combination of missing a day of aim training, coming home really late from work, and being tired was just the thing that led to that headache. I was expecting the next day that came to feel a lot better, but nope, I felt that same headache sensation. Luckily, by the 3rd day, I had gone back to my regular routine and feeling, and I was able to bang out the scenarios a lot more consistently, no headache problem. It felt really good by week 4, since I knew I was coming home tired, and even though I was tired, I was still like able to keep up with my scores that would be at the top. And those scores, let's say for example, some of them would be with me on caffeine still, so I would be getting close to the scenarios not on caffeine and being tired, and that was what really like made me happy with week 4, even though it wasn't that great. Another good thing I felt was just how I was getting better at the scenarios. Let's say tracking. Another thing with tracking that you have to focus on is once the target starts slowing down and shifts to the left or shifts to the right or shifts up and down, you would be able to read when it starts getting slower, and then once it starts slowing down, then it would shift a different direction, and that's what you would be looking for in the scenario. And it made my scores go higher, and I like noticed myself paying attention to that. I noticed myself paying attention to when I was looking at the targets and on my crosshair, I would have another target in my peripheral vision, so when I flicked to that one, it was already in my peripheral vision, and I had an idea in my head how much I would flick. Another feeling that came with aim training is that I was able to hit my shots a lot more, but in the fact that I really couldn't tell you how. Think of it like if you were gonna shoot a 3-pointer, but when you're hitting your shots and you're like actually locked into it, and someone asks you like, hey, how are you hitting these so good? Like, what's your shooting form? You know, right now I'm in the state where I'd be like, shit, dude, I couldn't tell you how. So I'm sure over time I'll be able to figure that out. Right now, I have my moments where I have a good game and I'm hitting my shots, and then I have other moments where I'm not really having a good game and I'm not hitting those shots. I want to find out how I'm hitting the shots, not even just to explain to someone else how to hit them, but just to explain to myself how I hit them, so I can be a lot more consistent in the games. But other than that, that was like the last big thing I really felt while aim training. Would I do this again? Yeah, I'd say I'll probably keep aim training in my pocket. I'm not gonna do it as consistent as I did during this 30-day challenge where I'm doing it every day. But if I do it from a day-to-day basis, I'll have like 10 minutes here, an hour there, maybe not even aim train at all. The main focus should be now just on the game, because I think my split was probably like sometimes 50-50. So going forward, all my time is going to be going into the game I want to get good at, and about 20% into the aim training. Alright, before I start wrapping up, we're going to do the benchmark real quick, see where I'm at. I don't expect anything too crazy. My main objective is just getting that bronze rank, since if I reach that, I can up the daily improvement method from novice to intermediate, and that's where I'm trying to get. So it has a clicking scenario, it has a tracking scenario, and it has a reactive scenario. We'll see what my strengths are, and we'll see what my weaknesses are, and going forward from here on out, I can focus on the weaknesses and spend a little bit less time on the things I'm already good at. Main objective is having really smooth and good aim, so with that, I'm gonna try to keep all of my benchmarks to be about as even as I possibly can make them. So my objective is gonna be reaching bronze, and we'll see how I do. Alright, so this ended up being my results in the benchmark. Not that great, to be honest, but at the same time, 1 month of aim training, I'd say it's not that bad. I just wish we had gone to bronze. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on. And the thing I really like is how it just gives you like your strong points. Like, look at this one, Snake Track Novice S5. I'm pretty much in the silver range on that one. Same with Ground Novice, but there's a lot of other ones where I gotta get closer to bronze. So yeah, this ended up being a pretty good 30-day experiment. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Make sure to like, subscribe, and goodbye.